On Rye, Chapter 39. One Sunday, Jimmy talked me into going to the beach with him. We wanted to go swimming. I didn't want to be seen wearing swimming trunks because my back was covered with boils and scars. Outside of that, I had a good body, but nobody would notice that. I had a good chest and great legs, but nobody would see that. There was nothing to do, and I didn't have any money. The guys didn't play in the streets on Sunday. I decided that the beach belonged to everybody. I had a right. My scars and boils weren't against the law. So we got on our bikes and started out. It was 15 miles. That didn't bother me. I had the legs. I breezed with Jimmy all the way to Culver City. Then I gradually began to pedal faster. Jimmy pumped, trying to keep up. I could see him getting winded. Pulled out a cigarette and lit it, held out the pack to him. Want one, Jim? No. Thanks. The beach shooting birds with a BB gun, I told him. We ought to do this more often. I began pumping harder. I still had plenty of reserve strength. This really gets, I told him. This beat's whacking off. Hey, slow up a little. I looked back at him. There's nothing like a good friend to go biking with. Come on, friend. Then I gave it all I had and pulled away. The wind was blowing in my face. It felt good. Hey, wait, goddammit, yelled Jimmy. I started laughing and really opened up. Soon Jim was a half a block back, a block, 2 blocks. Nobody knew how good I was. Nobody knew what I could do. I was some kind of miracle. The sun tossed yellow everywhere and I cut through it, a crazy knife on wheels. My father was a beggar in the streets of India, but all the women in the world loved me. I was traveling at full speed as I reached the signal. I shot through inside the row of waiting cars. Now even the cars were back there behind me, but not for long. A guy and his girl in a green coupe pulled up and drove alongside me. Hey kid, yeah? I looked at him. He was a big guy in his 20s with hair and a tattoo. Where the fuck do you think you're going? He asked me. He was trying to show off in front of his girl. She was a looker, her long blonde hair blowing in the wind. Up yours, buddy, I told him. What? I said up yours. I gave him the finger. He kept driving along beside me. Gonna take that shit off that kid, Nick? I heard his girl ask him. He kept driving along beside me. Hey, kid, he said. I didn't quite hear what you said. Would you mind saying that again? Yeah, say that again, said the looker, her long blonde hair blowing in the wind. That pissed me. She pissed me. I looked at him. All right, you want trouble? Park it. I'm trouble. He zoomed ahead of me about a half block, parked, and swung the door open. As he got out, I swung wide around him, almost into the path of a Chevy, and gave him the horn. As I swung around into a side street, I could hear the big guy laughing. After the guy was gone, I wheeled back onto Washington Boulevard, went a few blocks, got off the bike, and waited for Jim on a bus stop bench. I could see him coming along. When he pulled up, I pretended that I was asleep. Come on, Hank, don't give me that shit. Oh, hello, Jim. You here? I tried to get Jim to pick a spot on the beach where there weren't too many people. I felt normal standing there in my shirt, but when I undressed, I was exposed. I hated the other bathers for their unmarred bodies. I hated all the goddamn people who were sunbathing, or in the water, or eating, or sleeping, or talking, or throwing beach balls. I hated their behinds, and their faces, and their elbows, and their hair, and their eyes, and their belly buttons, and their bathing suits. I stretched out in the sand thinking, I should have punched that fat son of a bitch. What the hell did he know? Jim stretched out beside me. What the hell, he said. Let's go swimming. Not yet, I said. The water was full of people. What was the fascination of the beach? Why did people like the beach? Did they have anything better to do? What chicken-brain fuckers they were. Just think, said Jim. We're going to go into the water and they piss in there. Yeah, and you swallow it. There would never be a way for me to live comfortably with people. Maybe I'd become a monk. I'd pretend to believe in God and live in a cubicle, play an organ, and stay drunk on wine. Nobody would fuck with me. I would go into a cell for months of meditation where I wouldn't have to look at anybody and they could just send in the wine. The trouble was the black robes were pure wool. They're worse than ROTC uniforms. I couldn't wear them. I'd have to think of something else. Oh, said Jim. What is it? There's some girls down there looking at us. So what? They're talking and laughing. They might come down here. Yeah? Yeah. When they start coming over, I'll warn you. When I do, turn on your back. My chest had only a few boils and scars. Don't forget, said Jim. When I warn you, turn over on your back. I heard you. I had my head down on my arms. I knew that Jim was looking at the girls and smiling. He had a way with them. Simple cunts, he said. They're really stupid. Why did I come here, I thought. Why is it always only a matter of choosing between something bad and something worse? Oh, Frank, here they come. I looked up. There were 5 of them. I rolled over on my back. They walked up, giggling, and stood there. One of them said, Hey, these guys are cute. You girls live around here? Jim asked. Oh, yeah, one of them said. We nest with the seagulls. They giggled. Well, said Jim, we're eagles. I'm not sure we know what to do at 5 seagulls. How do birds do it anyhow? One of them asked. Damned if I know, Jim said. Maybe we can find out. Why don't you guys come over to our blanket? One of them asked. Sure, Jim said. 3 of the girls had spoken. The other 2 just stood there pulling their bathing suits down over what they didn't want seen. Count me out, I said. What's wrong with your friend? Asked one of the girls who had been covering her ass. Jim said, He's strange. What's wrong with him? Asked the last girl. He's just strange, said Jim. He got up and walked off with the girls. I closed my eyes and listened to the waves. Thousands of fish out there eating each other. Endless mouths and assholes swallowing and shitting. The whole earth was nothing but mouths and assholes swallowing and shitting and fucking. I rolled over and watched Jim with the 5 girls. He was standing up, sticking his chest out and showing off his balls. He didn't have an E-barrel chest and big legs. He was slim and neat with that black hair and that nasty little mouth with the perfect teeth and those round ears and his long neck. I didn't have a neck, not much of one anyway. My head seemed to sit on my shoulders, but I was strong and mean. Not good enough, the ladies like dandies. If it wasn't for the boils and scars, though, I'd be down there now, showing them a thing or two. I'd flash my balls for them, bringing their dead air-headed minds to attention, me with my 50 cents a week life. Then I saw the girls leap up and follow Jim into the water. I heard them giggling and screaming like mindless, "What?" No, they were nice. They weren't like grown-ups and parents. They laughed. Things were funny. They weren't afraid to care. There's no sense to life, to the structure of things. D.H. Lawrence had known that. You needed love, but not the kind of love most people used and were used up by. Old D.H. had known something. His buddy Huxley was just an intellectual fidget, but what a marvelous one. Better than G.B. Shaw with that hard keel of a mind on its scraping bottom, his labored wit finally only a task, a burden on himself, preventing him from really feeling anything, his brilliant speech finally a bore, scraping the mind and the sensibilities. It was good to read them all, though. It made you realize that thoughts and words could be fascinating, if finally useless. Jim was splashing water on the girls. He was the water god, and they loved him. He was the possibility and the promise. He was great. He knew how to do it. I'd read many books, but he had read a book that I had never read. He was an artist with his little pair of bathing trunks and his balls and his wicked little look and his round ears. He was the best. I couldn't challenge him any more than I could have challenged that big son of a bitch in the green coop with a looker whose hair floated in the wind. They both got what they deserved. I was just a 50-cent turd floating around the green ocean of life. I watched them come up out of the water glistening, smooth-skinned and young, undefeated. I wanted them to want me, but never out of pity. Yet despite their smooth, untouched bodies and minds, they were still missing something, because they were as yet basically untested. When adversity finally arrived in their lives, it might come too late or too hard. I was ready. Maybe. I watched Jim toweling off, using one of their towels. As I watched, somebody's child, a boy of about 4, came along, picked up a handful of sand and threw it at my face. Then just stood there, glowering, his sandy, stupid little mouth puckered in some kind of victory. He was a daring, darling little shit. I wiggled my finger for him to come closer. Come, come. He stood there. Little boy, I said, come here. I have a bag of candy-covered shit for you to eat. The fucker looked, turned, and ran off. He had a stupid ass, 2 little pear-shaped buttocks wobbling, almost disjointed. But another enemy gone. Then Jim, the lady killer, was back. He stood there over me, glowering also. They're gone, he said. I looked down to where the 5 girls had been, and sure enough, they were gone. Where did they go, I asked. Who gives a fuck? I've got the phone numbers of the 2 best ones. Best ones for what? For fucking, you jerk. I stood up. I think I'll deck you, jerk. His face looked good in the sea wind. I could already see him knocked down, scurrying on the sand, kicking up his white-bottomed feet. Jim backed off. Take it easy, Hank. Look, you can have their phone numbers. Keep them. I don't have your goddamn dumb ears. Okay, we're friends, remember? We walked up the beach to the strand, where we had our bicycles locked behind someone's beach house. And as we walked along, we both knew whose day it had been, and knocking somebody on their ass could not have changed that, although it might have helped, but not enough. All the way home on our bikes, I didn't try to show them up as I had earlier. I did something more. Maybe I needed that blonde in the green coupe with her long hair blowing in the wind.